Hi, welcome back to the Miles and Points Report. My name is Tommy Danielsen. I am here reporting from my house in Northern California. It's been a while. Rudy, Maxa, and myself have been on the road for the last 3 weeks. He's actually still on the road, and he is sleeping right now, hopefully, in Athens, Greece, where he has been for the last few days, and he is coming back. Rudy's coming back to the U.S. This coming weekend. So lots of traveling going on, lots of interesting things going on, and that's what we want to talk about today. For those who are not are tuning in for the first time, this show brings up some interesting things that I and others in the travel, miles, and points world find interesting, which, can be many things right now. And, travel has changed a lot. So we're obviously going to talk a little bit about things that have kind of changed travel-wise. After 3 weeks in Europe, Rudy and I have both had some experiences there with various airports. Many of the folks watching has probably travel plans to Europe. Rudy and I have a tour company called Maxa Tours, and that company has done its first tour and is now enrolling the second tour. And we have lots of tours coming up this fall. And, we're going to talk a little bit about how that went and also what to look out for, what not to do if you're traveling to Europe on your own. And today, in a couple of minutes, we're going to have Marshall Jackson dial in with us again. Marshall is an avid writer and former American Airlines pilot that has been a part of the show for a long time. We're also going to be joined later by Charles Hagadorn, who is a frequent flyer and a travel expert based out of Seattle. And those are the guests for today. And Rudy will be coming back again to us next week. So let's talk a little bit about traveling in Europe at this time and what the experiences that we have. So there are some airports in Europe that are worse than other. I think that the U.S. has been doing a much better job staffing people. These airports in the U.S., the TSA is staffed by the government, and many of the European airports are staffed by private companies that are working for the airports that are government-owned. And we're going to bring in Marshall to chat a little bit before we get into that. How you doing there, Pilgrim?
Not too shabby. How about you?
Yes, I got home after 3 weeks on the road with a thing for laundry and confiscated contraband that security took on the way back. And
oh my!
And they took my Norwegian liver paste. Those sons of bitches. Even though it's less than 3 ounces.
You can't carry food like substances anymore.
There you go. Well, we're talking a little bit about how airports are structured here in the U.S. It's the TSA that mostly is responsible for security in the U.S. and in Europe, it's mostly private company that works for the governments that own the airports around town. And I saw some there has been a lot of chat about that, about Amsterdam and London first and foremost.
Sure.
But you've traveled a little bit in the last few weeks. There hasn't been that many lines and hasn't been any issues for frequent flyers.
Not really. Domestically, security lines for me at least were pretty tame, even in Atlanta. But on a Friday,
right?
It was okay. It's been okay from that regard.
Right.
TCA is always usually pretty good, and it's been good enough.
Yeah, and that's actually changed for me. I went to check in the night before because I know that SAS has been having some shenanigans with, I've been using these. You still have to test to go back into the U.S. I've been using this EMED test thing,
right?
That you test and you got a dude on the line and he will record you, so you actually sees that you're doing the testing on yourself.
Yep.
You get the result within 15 minutes and you're good to go. And there's been some. So I went and checked in the night before because I've heard that SAS sometimes don't take those. And it wasn't an issue. And the dude said, you better be here tomorrow 3 hours before. And I said, I have fast track. And he was like, well, be here 2 hours before. And I was there 2 hours before. And I've never been to the airport 2 hours before. And I walked out. I don't know if you've been to Stockholm, the airport there.
Long time, but I have been.
So between Terminal 4 and 5, that's where the hotel is, the Radisson Blue terminal. It's inside the terminal. You don't have to walk outside. I walk outside, and there's probably about 3/4 of a mile to where Fast Track is. And this is what met me outside the door, at front of the hotel. So the terminal, you can see where the Finnair plane is there in the background.
Yep.
And thankfully, that wasn't that was the line for regular security. I got so here's this is where it all started, right? So this is the Fast Track going back a little bit to where you say the 5 is, and it turns around and it comes back again. So it was mayhem in there, and it was pretty bad to any sense of form getting through all of the stuff. And literally, 2 hours before with Fast Track and business class, the dude just literally, that's the guy in front of me also. He shows like I felt that morning. It's like literally I was the last person to board because I was the one in worse shape. And 2 hours it took me. I barely made it, and it would have been a major inconvenience. And I know that Rudy flew out of Amsterdam the day before, or a few days before that, on the 1st of June. He flew back, and he was there like bright and early. I think it was like 4 hours before or something like that. It took him he was first in line to check in and first in line to go through security. So I guess you never know. And that's the thing. You got to keep an eye on this thing and follow local news. But on the radars, the 3 airports that I would say is Stockholm, Amsterdam, and London Heathrow. Those are 3 that you need to watch out for, and you need to check in advance if you're going to travel to Europe. It's absolutely mayhem. Even if Rudy was lucky, I know that he flew through there going back to Athens this week, this weekend, and it was obviously he didn't have to go through security then, but it was a 3-hour wait that day. So I guess that's the story about that.
I hope that's over by the time I get there in October.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, yeah. I mean, it's a staffing thing, and let's not kid ourselves here. All of these things is not staffing because they can't find people. It's because they want to try and wait as long as humanly possible before they incur the cost of doing that. So that's the truth of things, and you don't have to say it because I already did. All right, so let's go back into. I wanted to talk a little bit about North Atlantic. So North Atlantic has gotten their approval. And they're going to start flying this week, or actually in 5 days from now. So on Monday, they're going to start flying from Oslo to JFK. It's their first flight. As you can see, these are 787s. They have 9s and they have 8s, mostly 9s, ex-Norwegian planes, some of the same owners, and that's kind of what the story is with the planes. The same seats, the same layout, and everything like that. And they have, I believe, 12 or 14 or something like that. So they announced Oslo. They announced Oslo to JFK, and then a couple of weeks later, it goes to Fort Lauderdale, just in time for the best time to go to Florida. and then they are doing LA from early August. And then they announced that they were opening London Gatwick to LA and New York, I believe. And now, this week, just a couple of days ago, they announced that they were going to do Berlin to JFK and to LA. And that kind of surprised me a little bit.
Seems like a great way to lose money to me, but, we'll see.
Yeah. What surprises me is that we had a conversation about this, and Norwegian long haul, Norwegian, the airline, was a solid company that made a ton of cash and had always done well. They started up in 2003 with 4 rented 737s. Mm-hmm. They put in the biggest 737-800 orders since Southwest, and American put in theirs. the biggest international one, and were large Boeing customers, and they did really well. And then they decided to buy, 38 with 2 exclamation marks behind it. Boeing 787s, wide body planes to start across the Atlantic. And it didn't go well. A lot of unprofitable routes and a lot of planes, 1 or 2 stashed away, based in Barcelona, in Amsterdam, in Vienna, in Rome, all over the place. They had airplanes parked and stuff like that. And for those who know, I know a little bit, but I don't know how to run an airline, but I know how to do math. And I also know how to think a little bit about this stuff. And one of the errors that I think they made, and I think, hopefully, would you agree with me when I say that they were in too many markets and the routes are very seasonal?
Yep, absolutely. And, and I don't know if that was the right airplane to start with all the international stuff either, but I think the idea of it.
They wanted to have a high volume, but it kind of didn't work out that way. And I think that, when you start up a market and you're seasonal, that you're stopping to fly in the times when it's quiet, it takes marketing dollars to start it back up again.
Absolutely.
And what we're seeing when the new owners, some of the owners are the same, but the new management and some of the same owners and some of the investors, they said they were going to go after the profitable markets, and Norwegian, they weren't in the Berlin market. And now you have a handful of planes and you are in 3 markets already. Oh my goodness, in Europe. So it seems like, it sounded like London is a good thing. It was profitable. Oslo, the same thing. Stick with that. And that sounded like a good plan to me. And maybe open more routes from there. But I guess that wasn't the plan, was it?
I guess they're trying to burn money. So we'll see what happens. All the best.
Let's bring in Charlie also so we can get a little. Hey, Charlie, what?
Hey.
Your wife is not making you shave anymore?
No, not recently.
For those who don't know Charlie, he is a lawyer up in Seattle. He's also a miles and points expert, a travel expert who has an opinion about, and is mostly right about everything he's talking about. Mostly.
I have an opinion.
And we bring him on the show every once in a while. So you've flown Norwegian. We've flown them together a couple of times. And what's your take on this thing by having so few planes and now opening up another base in Europe?
I mean, I wish it were Seattle, I guess is what I would say. And I wish them all the best. I don't know with the fares that they're, the pricing that they're going to actually be able to make money. It's just so much lower than everyone else. But I would love to be able to fly them while they're still around, I guess is how I would put it. Norwegian.
They got a fairly decent amount of cash on hand, and they're starting next week. Monday is the startup date. But I think that they said, they had 38 or they had 35 delivered, 38 787s on order, which is a massive number. It's like big as, as a comparison, SAS had 12 long haul planes and Finnair has 15. So, that's, I think 15 is the number with Finnair. They got some transition going on with the 350. But, now that's the same amount where Norse were going to start, and they said they were going to start up from their most profitable airports, which is Oslo and London, which they have. And now Berlin has all of a sudden hopped into the mix.
Yeah, Berlin's not even a city I usually think of flying direct to. Like if you said, where are you going from the U.S. to Germany, it's almost always going to be Frankfurt. I think of Frankfurt. I think of Munich. I guess I don't know why I don't think of Berlin, but it just...
There was an airline that used to fly into Berlin.
Yeah.
And they don't exist anymore. That necessarily doesn't mean anything, but I'm a little, to be honest with you, I'm rooting for these guys. These guys. I love Bjorn Schuss, who started Norwegian. He was a brilliant guy. He was a little bit... He made a couple of moves in the latter part that I don't really agree with, and got, he just literally bit over way too much than he could chew. And now seems to me like the Berlin move is a little bit premature, but I guess we'll just have to see.
I mean, if I could fly to Europe $600 each way in their premium economy, I'd probably do that every single time. I mean, it's a really comfortable seat. It's easy to sleep in, which is really what I care about.
Right.
Yeah, it was great.
All right. So let's move on to what we wanted to talk about now is to a little bit about the American Airlines. They have started giving us a new fare class, and it's called Business Plus. And it's going to be available. They're going to try it on some routes to begin with, right? It's literally business class with flagship check-in and security and flagship dining. And that's pretty much it, right? Is there anything else? I think that then it's just business class service on the plane.
Did it say that there was going to be a separate cabin, or is it just?
No, it's not a separate cabin. They are adding just first class services. So they're adding the security, they're adding the check-in, and they're adding the flagship dining, which is, the flagship lounge where you get in if you have One World Emerald.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's pretty much what you get. And it's still the business class cabin, so it's literally for flagship check-in, and then the first thing I'm thinking about is like, hey, this is how they're going to retire first class.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
I mean, they have a very limited fleet. They have the 321s that go between LA, San Francisco, and some other secondary markets, in JFK. And then they have, how many 777-300 ERs do they have? 18?
I would say 15 or 20. I can't remember the exact number, but those are the only wide bodies with first class.
Right. And not really that much of an exciting seat. I mean, Melinda and I always have fun with it because we have a lot of champagne, and then you can swivel, it swivels back and forth like an office chair. So we sit there, drunk, and we have fun on the swivel seat. That's what we call it. And besides that, I think the catering is pretty much the same. They add some soup and a little bit better champagne, but that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like, it's $500 more in the price example that we saw here. I don't know if this is so it looks like they have the it's called business and flagship business and flagship business plus. And for $500 more, you get to check in with the first class gang, which you kind of don't, because you kind of go through clear or you go through TSA pre-check. And then you have a sit-down meal. So that means that's $500 to sit down and have dinner in the flagship dining instead of the flagship lounge. Anybody think that that's worth it?
Not me.
No. Are those is that one way or are those round trip?
Not sure. It looks like one way to me.
Yeah.
But hard to say. It didn't say. It's like courtesy of American Airlines, so we can't see what that was. But
I mean, I don't know. $400. You can buy a real nice meal outside the airport for $400. I do think you get more bags.
We don't know if that's going to be the case, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think there is obviously an audience for this. But looking at, oh my goodness, who has a motorcycle outside their house?
Sorry about that. That's what I get for doing this outside.
Yeah, there you go. No, but I think that Finnair has started a similar gig, but they have done like an unbundling. So you don't get your seats, you don't get lounge, and you don't get X amount, and then you can get like a saver business of some kind. That's been pretty popular. But you get the seat, which is kind of, who eats the business class meals that much anyway? I mean, it depends, but yeah. No, we'll see what happens. It'll come out. It says that they're going to start it now for some limited markets from Wednesdays through whatever it says in this. Some market it'll pop up in some markets first to try it out first and see if people will dive into it or not. So I think, so I think that's the story there. We're just going to have to wait and see. We talked about this a few months ago, back in January, that the fourth, and Rudy and I talked about it last week, actually. Early last week, we talked about this because Four Seasons, the Danieli in Venice was looking to leave Marriott. They've been with Starwood for many, many years, and it's an iconic property. And Ed, our friend Ed Pizzarello, had his honeymoon there. It's a gorgeous place, a little bit on the older side, but as you can see from this picture, having breakfast there is kind of a unique thing, and also having dinner on the balcony there is also awesome. They said in January they were going to leave, and then there was some information said by Loyalty Lobby that turned out to be completely incorrect, because that was talked about a couple of weeks ago. They wrote about this in March, and I don't read Loyalty Lobby that much, but it was was said in an article there that they were staying. The Italians didn't want to have foreign owners of the property, so they were going to have it locally owned and franchised by Marriott. But the press release came out on the 6th, a couple of days ago. They are leaving. They are they're transitioning it to a Four Seasons, and it's going to be opened there and 2025 is when it's going to be reintroduced as a Four Seasons. Oh, so wow. A big loss for Marriott. For those, have any of you guys stay there in Venice?
Nope.
Not at that hotel, no.
Where'd you stay, Marshall?
Jesus, the one across the canal, the Hilton. I can't remember the name.
Okay. Yeah. I know about that one.
Yeah.
No, I think that this is, but the redemption. I mean, it's the same thing. We saw that happen in Athens too, right? The Astor Palace and the Westin, which was the Megadu host back in 2017 when we had our thing with Aegean. Whole big peninsula. I would venture into saying almost 100 acres outside of Athens. Gorgeous resort. And they closed it down. They shut it down for 2 years, and they opened it up right before the pandemic. And the prices have more than quadrupled. I mean, you can't get a room there for less than €1,000 now. So it used to be off season that you could get it for decent money, but they just have. So I assume that will be the same case here, that the rates are going to increase to 1,000 plus. The Danieli you can easily get off seasons for €300-400 a night, even lower than that if you use a AAA rate or book with FHR or any of those guys. So less redemption stuff. Or is that something we're going to see in the future? Less desirable properties leaving portfolios?
You mean having less of these?
Yeah, we've seen now two major more major properties disappear out of the. And we also saw the Park Hyatt in Hamburg leaving Hyatt at the end of this year. Is this a trend, or what do we think is happening here?
I don't know. I mean, we've seen Hyatt add a lot of these smaller, Joy V and some other hotel chains and independent hotels recently that seem, I mean, they're not like super nice, all of them, but they're, a little more boutique-y. But I don't know about this. It's not a great trend though. The few we've seen that have left recently.
Yeah. I think that, hotels come and go out of chains and all that kind of stuff. But I think that Marriott, has seen the worst of the worst. And they've lost a lot of hotels during the pandemic for many reasons. And, I would say the only reason to be a Marriott customer these days is, loyal Marriott customers and give them a ton of money is because you have the desirable properties. And now we don't know what next year holds when they change their program. To being 100%, to be 100% revenue based. That we'll I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
I mean, maybe that is more attractive to the hotel owners. I don't know. I mean,
we will have to see. All right, so let's move on to the best champagne in first class.
American Airlines.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I couldn't care less about how lucky defining the best champagne, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, he made a really nice write-up of who serves what. And how important is champagne when you book an airplane ride? How much do we think it's worth for people?
I mean, for me, it's practically zero. I mean, I want not terrible champagne, but like the type of champagne doesn't move the needle, really at all. I mean, maybe a tiny bit, like
right.
But
I like champagne.
Yeah.
It would never factor into who or what I book. I don't.
Right. I mean, he's rating them based on the price, and Japan Airlines are still on top, and they have been on top, because they have Salon, and Salon is arguably, I mean, I remember one time back in like 2011 or 12 or something like that, where I was tweeting. I wasn't doing the Twitter. I don't do the Twittering that much, but I was communicating with Brian Kelly on social media somewhere, and I was like 3 days behind him flying to Japan in first class, and he was like, I hope they don't have that Salon shit that they have Dom instead. And they only had one bottle of Dom, but they had like many bottles of Salon. And I hadn't tasted it before. I heard about it, but I hadn't tasted it before. And I was like, I didn't have a sip of that Dom. It was phenomenal. And they still have it. And it's hard to get. They now have a 2007. And they got Cristal also, which, also is kind of a weird champagne. It's kind of like a wrapper thing more than anything else. It's not really a good champagne to begin with, but, $350 a bottle. You have Qatar Airways. They got the 2004 Krug. I have a very loose relationship with Krug. I think that it's like better than average. And a vintage and better than average. Now, Gary left. He sent me one for my birthday a few years back. I had it like 3 or 4 years ago. It was phenomenal. I don't know. I think it was like 98 or something. And now they serve it 2004. And Singapore, they've known for having both Krug, the non-vintage one, and the Dom from Dom, which is obviously vintage. And they've had that. And they've had Comme de Champagne from Taittinger as well. So, and then Lufthansa has the Cuvée Alexandra Brut. I've had that a few times. Not really. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think the and then Emirates has been Dom the whole way, always. That's kind of their gig. ANA is Krug. I don't remember. And Cathay Pacific, also known for that. They also had the Comme de Champagne from Taittinger. That was before. I thought they had that. Well, do you remember, Charlie, the last time you took Cathay? I think it was Taittinger vintage. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It was a red eye, and I got on and ate dinner and went to bed. Well, I probably had 3 glasses of champagne and then fell asleep.
There you go. Good to sleep on that. And Air France actually has that one still. It varies what they have. He says that Air France regularly rotates its champagne selection. Yeah. Laurent Perrier Grand Cycle is the one that BA has always had. They've had it for years, both in their lounge and on board. Swiss is pouring it now. And that's pretty much the stuff for there. And then if we move to the lounges, Le Grand Dame in Qatar still, they used to have Billicotte, Salmon, Rosé. They used to have Krug there and some other stuff. I guess that's gone. The same Veuve Clicquot Grand Dame in Paris at the La Première Lounge. Anybody, you guys been there?
I've not.
I haven't.
I've contemplated doing the work to get into that lounge and fly that first class, but I have not done it yet.
Yeah, I jumped on a fare that was very low. That's how I got in there a couple of times. So
I had the Algeria originating one, but they canceled it. So.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. I thought they put everybody in coach, didn't they?
Yeah, basically.
Right. And then Singapore Airlines has the private room, they used to have Dom in the private room before, but personally, I think that the Taittinger comme de Champagne is equally good. And American Airlines, in their flagship dining, they are serving better stuff in their lounge and they're serving on board, of course, which makes absolutely no sense, but I guess it's cheaper, right? Yeah. And moving on to business class. And so Qatar Airways, wow. I mean, I cannot believe that they're serving better rosé. They must have gotten their hands on a of a selection. Why would they serve a much better rosé than a standard champagne? That's weird.
Yeah.
And it's the LP standard LP is not $30. I mean that maybe 2 years ago, but not anymore. It's a little bit more, but it's a solid. It's a house champagne. It's in the Danielsen household. That's the house champagne here. Eva Air serves the Grand Dame, which is pretty decent. Singapore Airlines, not sure what that's about. And that he's mentioning what he's the other stuff is just junk. I mean, regular Veuve Clicquot and de la Motte Blanc is Blanc de Blanc is really not that good. But I noticed that I flew SAS earlier this week. They, with all the problems that they have changed their game up. They were serving Charles Heidsieck, which is a brilliant non-vintage champagne. And I had a nice bottle and a half of that on my way back with some heated nuts there from the forest. And yeah, that was a good gig.
Nicely done.
Yeah, I was surprised about that. And I flew SAS during the pandemic. It was very cut back, and they had like the bread that they serve was like, you could probably, if you threw it at somebody, that would probably be set. It would have been an attempted murder. And it was just, the food was awful. It was just, it was, I will tell you, I did bring, excuse me. I don't have the COVID already tested, but I did bring my own food throughout the whole traveling long haul, and also in the US. It's just dreadful stuff. But the meal that I had coming back was absolutely superb. They had full service. They had the cheeses, the desserts, fresh and stuff. The crew was on point. The new business class cabin on the 350. Yeah, it's gorgeous stuff. So they're missing that on the lists. I put it in the comments. Maybe it'll put it up, but I think that should be in the top 5. It's definitely better than the 2 last ones here, for sure, that he mentioned as business class champagne. So there is that. And another thing I want to use. So Charlie, you Nexus, talking about customer service and crossing borders and stuff. What did you experience? Nexus, tell us about what that is for those who don't know.
Yeah, so Nexus it's mainly marketed towards people that live near the U.S.-Canadian border, and it allows for going through in special ground lanes. So you get there's a Nexus lane to drive across the border in both directions. It's very similar application and process as global entry. You end up getting pre-check and global entry with it. For kids, it's free. And so they get global entry and pre-check along with it for free. But it's really, post-pandemic, it's really catered more towards people right at the border. Like there used to be, so you have to go for an interview. There used to be an interview location in Seattle at Boeing Field, just south of Seattle. That's closed. And so pretty much all the interview locations are within a few tens of miles or right at the border. I applied in January 2020 for an expiration of April 2020. And wow. Yeah. And my wife was approved in like a week or two, something very quickly. It took them till December of 2020 to approve me.
Crazy.
Yeah. Or for a renewal, by the way, And then, when the border was closed, there were no interviews. so December of 2022, so we're now like 23 months after I applied, I was finally able to get an appointment, and then they closed the border again and they canceled all the appointments. and then in February of this year, they're like, okay, we're going to reopen for appointments again. And it took me a few weeks. I finally managed to get an April something appointment. And granted, they've been extending Nexus, but only for 2 years. And so my Nexus was going to expire at the end of April, but I had an appointment within like a few days. So whatever, no big deal. Then they decided they weren't going to take any chances. They canceled all these appointments. And then like a month and a half later, they were like, oh, just kidding. We're opening up again, but we're not honoring any of the appointments we canceled, even though we're going to be open. So join the Hunger Games and try and get an appointment again. And I tried for a long time. I mean, I wasn't like checking every hour, but I was checking on a regular basis, and there were never any appointments open for Blaine, Washington. And I posted in the group after, searching a bunch for like, how in the world can I find an appointment without, paying someone millions of dollars. Anyway, turns out for $29, you can pay someone. They have a service that will like automatically check for appointments. I don't know what they're doing, because the only way I can check if an appointment is to like log into my account and then, do the search, but somehow they're able to do it without needing to log in. And then they text you appointments, and within 24 hours of paying my $29, I had an appointment for me on Tuesday, and my wife had hers today. So we both drove separately 4 hours round trip to get our appointment. Cool. My Nexus was reactivated before I got home. So, within just a few hours of giving my interview, it got reactivated. So I should be good set now, but man, I even called Blaine and I was like, are you guys actually have appointments or what? And they're like, oh no, we have appointments all day, every day. I was like, I never see any. He's like, I don't know. People are booking them. And so I don't know if everyone is using some random service to get their appointments or what, but I never once saw Blaine available in the dozens of times I checked. But anyway, do
you go to Canada a lot? Do people need to get this stuff, or is it just silly?
I would say that no, like it's free for kids for Nexus, and we're just doing global entry for them.
Right. Because I got my global entry renewal through all this stuff, and Melinda did. I'm not going to lie and say that I did something, but Melinda did something, and she applied online. She answered the questions, and they said, yes, we're going to renew you, blah, 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 for 10 years or whatever, how long, in 5 years or whatever it is. Yeah. I didn't have to go in. I didn't have to do anything. They made an exemption and just punched mine through.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at this point with, if I just had to drive to Boeing Field, which is like 15 minutes away, I'd continue to do Nexus, but I'm going to probably switch to just global entry because I don't drive across the Canadian border enough. I mean, I have friends that live up in Bellingham, which are within 20 minutes of the Canadian border, and they all have it, but like when they go to IKEA, they drive into Canada to go to IKEA. They don't drive down to Seattle. So
got it.
It makes sense for them. But yeah, it's total.
All right, so let's talk. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about today is Europeans. They don't want cash anymore. What's the last time you guys went to Europe?
March.
So 5 years.
No, it's not 5 years. We were there in Paris. When was that?
5 years.
Wow, it's been that long?
No, that was 2015, wasn't it?
I thought it was 2016, but that's okay. It's really that long ago. Well, then you better get your ass on a plane now. So, we have Melinda and I. We have this little pouch that we bring with us, where we have like change and bills and whatnot for various countries in Europe. There's euros, and then you've got some funky countries like Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, and Bosnia and some other stuff that has different currencies. And this trip, I went to Sweden, I went to Norway, I went to the UK, I went to Denmark, I went to Italy. And it's the first, so they have replaced, they had this machine where you have a credit card and you plug it in, and sometimes they come to the table or they give you that, and they've been really good at that. But for the first time, I only pulled out my actual credit card for one thing, and that was for paying for the tolls in the toll booth in Italy. If you are paying, I used my iPhone to pay for absolutely everything. Absolutely everything I had to pay. The machines are now at the table where 100% I paid, restaurant checks all over every day for us and our customers throughout the whole thing. And I literally used Apple Wallet. I used Apple Wallet. For those who don't know what it is, Apple Wallet on your phone, you put in your credit cards and you have, boarding passes and various things and other stuff down here at the bottom. But at the end of the day, it's more, if we're looking at the thing, so you can see the various credit cards are in there, and I paid with that. And they were like, I tried to pay with cash to get rid of some of the stuff. Nobody wanted it. And it was funny. Rudy went to the reception. He had a big ass sack. He looked like one of those guys who go to the bank and like they will have those things you stuff the quarters in them, right? He had a big sack of not quarters, but local Swedish currency, and he brought it down to the reception at the Sheraton. And they say, "Oh, we don't have any cash here," because he wanted to change it into bills. And he said, "What do you mean? Well, do you have it in the back?" And I said, "No, the hotel is cash free. We don't take cash anymore."
Wow.
So the Sheraton in Stockholm, you want to pay by cash? Sorry, mate, ain't gonna happen. And boy, is it smart to have your wallet instead of having your Apple Wallet instead of having your because you're not handing your credit card number to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You literally are showing them your phone, and nobody sees your credit card number. When you hand something to a waiter, he brings it back. That's how credit card numbers get stolen. He brings it back in the back. He writes down your stuff, or he takes a picture on his phone. He has your security number. He has the expiration date. He has everything. So, wow, I would say going to Europe now is 100%. And also the places we know that I've had issues with that in Copenhagen. The trains, they don't take American credit cards.
Oh, yeah.
But they take Apple Pay.
Oh, they do.
So Rudy plugged in his card, wanted to do the old school thingy there, and didn't get a ticket. I tapped with my Apple Pay. Boom. It went. Through it went. So
but you just use one of your American credit cards through Apple Pay, though, right?
Correct. You just put all your credit cards in here. You pick the one that so you have the Capital One for everything. Then you have your Sapphire Reserve that goes for travel stuff, hotels and train tickets and all that, everything travel related. And then you have Amex for your plane tickets, which of course is not relevant here. But I have those cards. I pick the one that's good and I tap it, and that's the end of it. So I don't know if it will. So the only place that I can think of that had an issue was in Amsterdam, where they don't take American credit cards. But I think that they've done that was the same exact thing as it was in that they needed a PIN code. But I guess when you tap, they've already verified that you have because you have to verify you with your phone.
Yeah. Right.
And you have to you can't turn off the security on your phone. If you want to use Apple Wallet, you have to have a Face ID. If you don't have a Face ID, no wallet for you. So or the if you have the what is it called, the thumb, the iPhone X,
Touch ID,
whatever it's called, the one that old people have because they don't have
Touch ID.
Yeah. So that's the good way to that's a fantastic improvement. I wonder when that's going to happen here.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, how rural did you go? I'm going to be in like rural Scotland, like Shetland Islands next month or later this month. Curious to know how. I'll let you know how that goes.
Well, so where did we go? I went to Stockholm. I went to London and Stockholm. I went to northern Norway, where I'm from. It's a 25,000 people town. in the airport. I went to the grocery store. I went to get flowers for my grandma. I went to get, gifts. I went to, my everywhere. It was, and also they've also started, another pain in the ass that we've had is that when you rent cars outside the US, when we have Hertz here, you go to your car, you sit down, you drive, right? You just show the dude your driver's license. You don't show anything. Guess what? That has also become available now because of the COVID. They didn't want to touch you, or they don't want to see you, right? So it was funny because I was surprised because the first rent-a-car that we, there are other reasons why they shouldn't see the three of us, of course. I mean, if you're a girl, you don't want to meet any of us. But I digress. At the end of the day, though, I landed in Bergen. I looked at my phone and I saw that I'd gotten a message from Hertz where it says, this is your license plate number. This is your car. Just go to the garage. There's a person there waiting for you. And I went there. I showed her the license and off I went.
Oh, good.
So no signing, no waivers, no nothing. A phenomenal gig, and that's a big. And the same thing happened when I got to Italy. Could you believe it? Italy is like, they changed the rules there because of the. You had to go into the booth, right? There's a booth in Malpensa. When you walk around the corner on the right, you got to go in there. But I only showed my license. I didn't show my credit card. I didn't show my passport, anything like that. I just showed my license, and that was it. So things have changed a lot in Europe since we were gone for the positive. But it felt so safe and it's so organized. You don't have to worry about bringing your credit card. It started at the end. I didn't even bring my wallet to dinner. I just had my phone. How awesome is that?
That's cool. Yeah. I paid for dinner last night in Washington, D.C. with my phone.
There you go.
It took a global pandemic to get pay at the table to my favorite little bar here, but they got it now. So.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, what are we going to go back to that place that Rudy took us to? The place with the pesto pasta there.
I can't remember the name of it, but I'm ready when you are. Come on by.
Oh my god,
that was really
amazing.
Good.
And for the price,
yeah.
Forget about it. There's not even a recession anymore. I can't believe it. Yeah, no. So I think that's it. That's for the good of the pandemic. For what I wanted to do, we also were going to talk a little bit about pricing, what we are recommending for people, where to go, what to do. Looking at prices now in the fall, it looks like is demand dropping like a stone. It looks like pricing is coming down across the board everywhere. You guys seen the same, or?
I'm poking around for Europe this fall because it's the wife's a milestone birthday. I won't name which one. Oh, it's her 30th birthday. I'll leave it at that.
It's her 30th birthday.
So pricing is looking a lot more favorable than this summer. I'll just leave it at that.
I'm checking for Asia, particularly Taiwan, next February, and those still nothing there, like $1,300 in coach. It's not great.
Well, let's do a screen share here let's do a screen share here and see. Are we sharing a screen? I'm not sharing a screen. I did share. There we go. Stop screen, and then we're going to share, and then we hit the button again, and then we do window, which is this one. So I just pulled up LA to Stockholm. Let's start there first. And this is an interesting market because SAS and Finnair has started a base in Stockholm. They moved 350s to Stockholm and are flying to the US from there, which is kind of insane. But what does that mean? Well, that means that the round trip so we're looking at LA to Stockholm here. Is 631 round trip for September. It's a big gap there. This is what I need to travel. But if you look at the schedule, you can see that it is pretty decently priced. We're going for a week here in end of September, beginning of October, and if we look at premium economy, it's about $1,000 on lot. It's always there. BA, they try to hand it with the big guys. Finnair is not. We probably took a Finnair day where Finnair didn't have availability for that. Maybe they don't have the nonstop going there for that day. But you could easily find premium sub thousands going to Stockholm. And the tip is here, if you're not going to Stockholm, let's see what, if we go from New York City, it's more to fly because of the competition. It's more to fly. Well, this is premium economy, so $1,000 on Air France. I kind of like that product. I like Air France premium economy. They got champagne and everything. So, and from, up where you are, your neck of the woods, Charlie, it's not a favorable market, to say the least, huh?
No. No.
And what about Marshall? You were up at that airport in the middle of a field.
Out in West Virginia.
West Virginia. Yeah, that's West Virginia Dulles International Airport. About the same, $1,000 round trip as New York. Yeah. If we want to go to Italy, say we want to go to, the whole situation to Italy, it's kind of deteriorated a little bit because of Alitalia used to dump the prices and Norwegian used to fly there. But I guess you can fly with TAP in economy, and Turkish Airlines is kind of a, if you want to spend a lot of vacation going to Istanbul and back and wait and all that stuff, sure. But, if you want to go economy, then maybe not. It's like going to the dentist and having a root canal lasting for 15 hours each way. But, in business class, Turkish is still keeping the prices in the lower twos. But there is a trick, that you can do if you want to travel in business class is to go originate in Europe. And I do that all the time, and I'm back to doing that now. And meaning that I buy a ticket out of Stockholm, and this is business class pricing. See here?
Mm-hmm.
Business class on Finnair, it doesn't look like they have on that particular route. It doesn't operate every day a week. So you got to try and see if you can. So the nonstop here, 1726. Maybe they have, here it is, the next day, right? So you will get round trip in business class from Europe, 1726, which is definitely still a decent price. But you can find, Charlie, what are the good cities? We know about Dublin, right? Dublin is a good gig.
Yeah. What's the other one? I think some of the other Scandinavian countries can also be good. You can, or at least pre-pandemic, you could find more out of like Oslo or Copenhagen at times. I'm flying back from Bergen. I don't remember. I didn't check business class from Bergen.
Right.
No, it's not cheap.
No, it's 2,200. This is LA, though. I mean, I'm sure Seattle is mighty. There you go. So, Seattle doesn't have any competition. There's not a lot of flights that go there. LA has a ton. And with both, you have North Atlantic coming, and then you already have SAS from Scandinavia that has a daily from Copenhagen, and then you have Finnair from Stockholm, and then you've got Norse from Oslo. That means you have three small markets with less 24 million people that has three daily big planes. two 350s and one 787-9. Yeah. But I mean, it pays to look. Dublin has always been a winner, and if you do fly here, it's obviously you got to play around with it for a while. But at the end of the day, going to the fares that you're seeing to Chicago, $485 in coach on Aer Lingus. 964 on Iberia. If you don't want to go that far, you go down to London. You've got the nonstop in American for $1,200. I mean, the thing is that you if you go to Europe a lot, like I do, I'm going four times this year, and I have 3 out of those times I spent $1,500 to $1,700 in business class, and one time I've paid for premium economy. Which was about $700. I bought that during the pandemic. So it pays for me because I originate in Europe. So right now I started on Tuesday. I flew over to LA on SAS with a stop in Copenhagen. I paid $1,580 round trip in business class. And then I'm going back to Europe in a few months. And that flight is also in business class, paid for. You don't have to scurry around like worthless peasants and wait for your upgrade and stand there hat in hand like some dumpski, or sit up all night like this, along with all those tourists and everything like that. You get to have a nice sleep and a couple of buckets of that champagne that they have. And so I think that starting in Europe is not a bad idea. Is that what you did, Charlie, too? Or
yeah, I mean, what happened for me is I had an outbound but not a return.
Right.
And so I kind of just decided, like, I just book an economy fare coming back. And then after looking at the prices of economy fares and premium economy fares and then round trip premium economy fares, I ended up, we're coming back in July from Norway. And then we have an outbound back in December, the week before Christmas, to Stockholm. And then my return from Stockholm right now is I managed to find 4 business class tickets on British Airways, so I had to pay a fee on top of that, but it worked out. But where I think these fares also make a lot of sense is people are always talking about positioning flights and things like that to get their business class. But if you're paying 60,000 miles one way to Europe, plus your positioning for 150 or 200 bucks, like, you're all in. I mean, in my mind, actual cash price now, like $1,000 or more one way. And if it's more than that, then, it starts to make sense to just buy a premium economy ticket, especially a real premium economy, not like Delta, extra legroom or whatever, those sorts of things. But if you can get real premium economy round trip, for we're looking at $1,200, which I think is what I'm paying to get back from Bergen and then to Seattle and then back to Norway, back to Stockholm. I think I'm paying $1,250. That's better than, British Airways is 60,000 Alaska miles plus $200 a person one way in business. So I'm already up to,
it's important to do the numbers. And also you kind of get tricked into that thing. If you, a typical thing that I did, like before the pandemic, it was $1,000 to fly round trip on British Airways from Scandinavia, from Dublin, Amsterdam, Brussels. It varied which one was the cheapest one to go from.
Yeah.
Then you found the availability in Avios one way to upgrade from premium economy to business, and it's like 20,000 points, not a lot. And then you have to pay the taxes difference and all that stuff. If it originates from Heathrow, so it's a few $100 there. And then you are at LAX and you had a long week and you're looking, and there's been no availability on upgrading with Avios, and you get to LAX and it's like they have an offer $700 for business class. And guess what? Buying round trip in business is usually, you can find deals from Europe from 17 to 200 to $1,700 to $2,000 easy, $1,500 to $2,000. You have TAP Air Portugal. You have the competition situation with Norse coming in again and Play coming in from Iceland. And then voila, guess what? If you buy at a premium economy fare and you spend the miles and the money to upgrade one way and you pay $700 to upgrade the other, you spend $3,000 like some dumpski. And all of that stuff, sitting there looking and having these alerts on Expert Fly, will it be available? And then you call, and you have to call BA to get that stuff. They don't have it online. So you wait for about 37 hours to get through on the phone with that blung, 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 and then you call through and it's like, oh, sorry, matey, it's already gone. And then, instead of doing that, you just pay it up. And be like, right now, I couldn't be happier. I spent an average of $811 each way in business class, paid for the three trips that I had, and I could not be happier than that.
Yeah.
But it's a good trip. Look in Europe, play around with Google Flights. I think is the you'd be surprised at what you can find. And I think that Dublin is a good city to start in. Barcelona used to be good and Rome used to be good, but Norwegian are gone, so those are not that pop anymore. But the Stockholm is a hot number. Helsinki is a hot number. Dublin is a hot number. Inverness is sometimes a hot number. Budapest. If you originate from there and you fly, say $50, you will always find something. You don't have to spend a couple $100 to position in Europe.
No.
It's usually as long as you stay away from Amsterdam, Frankfurt, and Paris, Charles de Gaulle, and London Heathrow, you will find stuff that's much, much less expensive. And, if you don't want to spend, I mean, think about it. Premium economy, $500 a person, or each way, $500 each way. That's not a bad price at all.
Not at all.
For what you get. I mean, I'm paying to go nonstop from here to Chicago to the Loyalty Summit on Tuesday. I'm paying, freaking $415 on United for sitting in coach and upgrade. That's they want for that upgrade. They wanted like $900.
My positioning flight to New York was $409 this summer to get my business class, to London. I was like, I'm kind of regretting that, but it is what it is. So
hey, at least you didn't bring your whole family with you on that one.
Oh wait, I am. Huh? It's on Alaska, so I burned my 2 companion ticket things, so it was only $1,000 total.
Oh, I was going to ask you about the upgrade. I got a trip from San Diego to Kauai that first class is empty. How do I upgrade that?
Do you have upgrade certificates or no?
I do not. I don't have status with Alaska.
So you got to look for. You can try and see if there's U class available on Expert Flyer, or you can go try and book the same flight on alaskaair.com and select the Gold Guest upgrade. And if it shows, it'll show you before, just in the list of flights, a blue U. And if that's there, then you can upgrade. The problem is Alaska used to give you 4 upgrades at Gold and then 4 more upgrades at 75K. And they've since said, oh no, the rule was always that we just gave 4 at Gold, but we were generous and gave 4 more at 75K. And we're not doing that anymore. So now as a 75K, you have like 4 upgrade certificates each year. And it's like, well, yeah, thanks. That's they're hard enough.
Hey, at least you got a new level. You got a 100K level there. And there's my kitty.
Say hi, Sonny.
Look at it. Hi.
Sorry, we had to go off camera for a cat escape.
That's cool. That's my baby.
Covered.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for joining me, chatting for the last hour. And this is the Miles and Points Report. We are back, and we're going to do every other Thursday for an hour starting today. So a couple of weeks from now. I encourage everybody to register for the Frequent Travel University this weekend. We're having a seminar on Saturday. Go to ftuniversity.com. If you are an annual member, it is, as always, complimentary to register. I hope to see you there. And do you guys have any travel going in for the next few weeks?
I got
none for me.
I leave for Europe in 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Cool.
Saturday, so.
Well, enjoy the Scandic Torge in Bergen.
Yes. Yes.
And I'll see you guys when you come back. Thanks, everybody. Next week, we're doing a Rudy show on Thursday, so we'll see everybody then for that. If not, it's a couple of weeks now until the Miles and Points reporting back. Thanks for dialing in, and we'll see you guys next time.